Hey guys, Krell Cooper here with On the Black, and I am joined by Dave Doyle of Mets Report for our weekly chat. How you doing, Dave?
Good. Thanks for having me again.
No problem. So let's get right into it. Johan Santana, reports started coming out last night that he may miss the entire season. There might be a decision on that as early as today. I saw some things that Adam Rubin of ESPN wrote this morning that said, that he talked to the Mets pitching coach Dan Warthen, and Warthen said everything's going fine with Santana. So I'm kind of not sure who to believe. I guess we'll wait to hear maybe what Santana himself has to say, or the Mets. But let me throw this out there to you. Let's just say that Santana does miss the season. I hope he doesn't, but let's just say that he does. What do you think that means for the Mets and their pitching staff?
I think it's him being death place is terrible at the best player on the team probably in $22.5 million salary.
Right.
I think what you got to think about this is that without him for half a season, you were going to be looking at Chris Capuano or somebody like that getting 15 starts. And I think you got to look at this now as Chris Capuano or Dylan G or Pat Mish getting 30 starts during the season. And what does that mean for the Mets? I think it's also possible that this could accelerate the timeline, maybe if the Mets were thinking about trading away Jose Reyes before he becomes a free agent, that if they can land a starting pitcher that's under contract for several years, that has some value, in addition to maybe other players too. But this may really change the strategy for the way the Mets approach the season.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the flip side of that, though, too, and I've been kind of thinking about this over the last 24 hours. I mean, it may not, because, the reports were Santana was going to come back sometime between, like, June and the All-Star break. And when he came back, when he comes back, we really don't know what we're going to get out of him, right?
Right.
He could come back, and it could take him a few starts, a month to get his legs under him, which means that we may not see the real Johan Santana till late August or September. So, I'm not really sure how to kind of react to this, because also, too, I mean, this team, when he does come back, they might be out of it anyway, right?
Right.
So I'm not really sure personally how to react to, okay, Santana's going to be out for the whole season, if that's the case, because I'm not really sure what we would have gotten from him this year, and I'm not really sure what position the team would be in when he comes back anyway.
I agree with that, but I also think that you have to look at it, and I think this is a generally accepted opinion of the Mets this year, that this year for them to contend with the Phillies, especially, and the Braves. And I think one of those key things that had to go right for them this year was Santana coming back around the All-Star break and him being himself again.
Right.
To, I think it was Sandy Alderson who had compared Santana coming back at the All-Star break to making a trade and bringing in an all-star caliber starting pitcher at that time. So I think that's one of those things that we really have to think about, that if the Mets are going to contend, this has to happen, and he has to be Santana when he comes back.
Right. Okay. Let's move on a little bit. Let's talk to another key Met that is dealing with injuries, and that's Carlos Beltran. I think we were all applauding him a few weeks ago when he went to the manager and said, I want to move to right field. But now, with his knee troubles, and I guess there's some question marks now whether or not he's going to be ready for opening day, which in my opinion, if Beltran's not ready, to me that leaves a big hole in the middle of the Mets lineup, and it changes everything with their lineup. And even if he's only 50% and they're doing this, day-by-day thing, I think that changes everything for this Mets lineup. So I want to get your thoughts on, if Beltran isn't ready, how do you see right field kind of playing out, especially with, I guess, all the hype around Duda now, and scouts being impressed by what they see from him?
Yeah, that does seem to be the hype, and Fernando Martinez already got shipped out to the minor league camp,
Yep.
so he's out of the mix already. So that happened pretty quickly. I think I think this may open the door for Nick Evans to make the team
Yep.
on opening day, especially if Beltran starts the season on the disabled list, which is possible. And, I think this is another one of those factors that if the Mets were going to contend this year, that Beltran had to play a full year,
Yep.
had to be himself again, at least offensively. Clearly, he's not going to be in center field, so he's not defensively. So, this is another bad situation for the Mets in terms of contending this season. If he's not ready to go now, 13, 14 months after the surgery, it's a bad situation for the Mets. And, the commonality between him and Santana, a couple guys on 7-year contracts with the Mets that both probably aren't going to be ready to go for the beginning of the season. It's a very, very bad situation.
Yeah, and it's just like, here we go again. We knew that this team had to have everything fall perfectly for them this year. And before the season even starts, here we go. I mean, if it's not the Mets' financial situations, it's us talking about injuries again. So here we go again.
Here we go.
Yeah. Speaking of here we go again, let's talk Oliver Perez. So I guess the plan is to see if he can work out in the bullpen, and if not, the Mets may eventually cut him. I've said before, I think that Oliver Perez going to the bullpen is a bad idea. You need your guys from the bullpen, whether they come in 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, to come in and throw strikes right away. And Oliver Perez's biggest issue is his consistency with his control. And so I just don't see how him to the bullpen, being a lefty specialist or whatever they're going to do with him, has any chance of working out. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I just don't see how you can bring a guy in that doesn't throw strikes like him with anybody on base. So, clearly, obviously, he's not going to be a closer who would just come in to start the 9th inning, of course, where he'd come in with nobody on base ever. So I just don't see how it's going to work with him. At the same time, though, I don't see that the Mets have any motivation that they need to release him before the end of spring training. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're on the hook for $12 million anyway, no matter what. So you might as well at least see if you can get absolutely anything out of him.
Right.
I don't know what that's going to be. I can't picture it in my mind what they could possibly get out of him. But at the same time, there's no reason to release him before then. I guess you could say that he's taking valuable innings and coaching time away from other players that are going to be on the roster this year. But, they got all these split squad games and they're playing games every single day. So, I just don't see that being an issue where he's really taking that much time away from anybody else. So I would take him right down to the wire before opening day and see if he's got anything, if just, some miracle occurs and he starts throwing strikes again and his velocity gets into the 90s again. And, there's just no reason to let him go before that.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I guess we'll see how all these situations, Santana, Beltran, and Oliver Perez, unfold over the next few days and weeks. But Dave, I want to say thank you again for joining me, and for those out there watching, Dave and I will be doing these weekly chats, so be sure to look out for it. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.